Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Scrappy Podcast, where we share stories of founders and tech professionals who are in various sectors of emerging tech. At TSP, we are a community of learners where we believe that access to quality tech education really needs to be democratized. And today we have with us Rounak, and we're here to learn from his journey, who's a data science consultant at McKinsey and author of a practical AI guide and who's also the brain behind TSP. So this is going to be a very special podcast. Thank you for agreeing to do this, Ronak, and
Of
welcome
course.
to the podcast.
I mean, I'm part of this, so I guess I
Yes.
didn't have a choice, right? Whether I wanted to agree to do this or not. Yeah, but yeah, super excited, and I'm so glad that we finally got around to do this. This is something that we've been planning on doing for like months now, but I guess we're all very busy people. But so glad
Yes,
that things are finally falling into place. Yeah.
super thrilled. Let's get
Mm-hmm.
right into it. And I would
Of course.
love to start by keeping it very open-ended. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
about your journey.
Of course. So currently, I work as a data science consultant with the AI arm of McKinsey and Company. I've been here for about 3.5 years. Have worked on some cutting edge artificial intelligence and blockchain projects across life sciences, banking, telecommunications, media, software, etc. Prior to that, I was again a data science consultant with Fractal Analytics, working in insurance with one of the largest insurance providers in the world. Prior to that, of course, as you know, I was at the Young India Fellowship with you. Uh, was there for a year, did some interesting things. Hopefully, we can get into at least some of them. Uh, and prior to that, I did my bachelor's in electronics from IIT Roorkee, which was an entire journey in itself. So yeah, since I'd say about since 2016, 2017, I've been almost exclusively working in data science and AI, and sometimes dabbling, in other emerging technologies such as blockchain and mobile app development and so on. Yeah.
That's awesome. We have so much to unpack here. Let's
Mhm.
start with the engineering journey, right?
Of course.
Take us through that. Take us through those 4 years. How did you spend your time? What did you do? How did you find your interest? Did you find your interest in data science during your engineering? Did you pursue a computer science engineering? Tell us more about that.
Of Of course. So I took up computer science in high school in 2012, and that was when I realized that it was something that I immensely loved. So I was really good at programming back in the day. I still like to believe I am, but yeah, back in the day I was really good. I represented my school at national programming contests, and I'd built some really cool programs like timetable generators and video games and whatnot. So obviously, I wanted to do computer science in 2014 when I was about to enter college, but I did not realize that everyone else in the world wanted to do computer science as well. So I did not end up getting computer science, and I think I made one of the biggest mistakes of my life, which was to just optimize for a better institution as opposed to going for a subject that I truly liked. And if I'm being very honest, it's a decision whose ramifications I've had to deal with to this day. So again, I'm not going to mince any words here when I say that my journey studying electronics at Roorkee was kind of a disaster. uh, I was horrible at it. Very terrible electronics engineer. I'd make a very terrible electronics engineer. So most of the time in college was actually me trying to do things on my own outside of curriculum. So um, in my first year of college, I'd built a social networking site which went semi-viral. About 200, I'd signed up about 200, 300 people, and the free server that I was working with crashed. But yeah, that was when I knew that this was something that I wanted to do long term. 2016 comes around, which is about, I think, my second year, third year, and obviously I have a terrible GPA, and I haven't really been preparing for placements because I've forsaken university academics altogether, and I'm having trouble getting internships, right? So what I do is, obviously, I have these software engineering skills that I've developed on my own, and I go on Angel List and I just start randomly messaging founders from around the world saying that, hey, look, I'll work for you for free, just give me something, 2 3 months. So finally, uh, an entrepreneur in New York gives me an opportunity to work with her for 4 months. Her name was Tatiana. She was my first boss. And yeah, over 4 months, we actually built an MVP uh, of her product, her startup. So a startup basically was an AI startup, which used uh, machine learning algorithms to match students to medical residencies. I actually don't remember too many of the details as to how that works, but yeah, medical residencies. So matching students to these institutions, these health institutions in the US, is kind of a complex process, and they use machine learning to do that. I wasn't involved in the AI component of it, but obviously did the front end engineering and all of that. But this was my first tryst with AI, so as to speak. uh, get interested in AI, and then what I do is I search for this website called Springboard, which has this 6 month comprehensive program where they teach you everything about data science and AI. And I decided, let me enroll for it, and then I find out that the course is around $7,500, which is way more than my college fees. If I think about it, it was very expensive. So what I do is I go to the careers page and I see that one of the perks of an employee is that you get to do this for free. And I was like, amazing. So I message the founder directly and I tell him that I'd like to intern at your place in summer. So go through a few rounds of interviews, that works out, and I start working at Springboard again as a software engineer. But the product that I'm building is very heavily data science and AI focused. Um, that goes very well, and then once I come back to college, I obviously use this perk that I was getting, which is doing this course, and I do it for like about 6 months. So July 2017 to December 2017. And this is where my data science career, so as to speak, truly started. So Springboard works in a mentor model. So how it works is you basically do these modules, these 10 to 12 modules on everything in data science, right? From data wrangling, machine learning, deep learning, data visualization, etc., etc. And you go through these modules with the help of a mentor who's an industry professional. So in my case, it was a person called Baran, who I believe is one of my greatest mentors. I mean, we haven't spoken in a long time, but one of my greatest mentors. He was the one who introduced me to his, uh, philosophy of learning, which is learning by teaching, which you'll see a lot in the Scrappy project as well, right? I mean, we've held office hours. You must have seen me say this a lot, which is, if you want to learn something, just teach something. So that is where we started. And Baran used to tell me that, you learn something, just put it out there, put it on Medium, put it on dev.to, put it on Kaggle. And that's what I did. So every time I'd learn something, I'd make a notebook out of it on Kaggle. If I created a data set, I'd put it on Kaggle, I'd put it on Medium. And that's how I started building a sort of an audience, right? Uh, did a few more things. I mean, happy to go through them, but that is where I built my traction, and I went on to do things like writing books, creating courses, and so on. After that, went to YF. This continued. Obviously, I did a lot of liberal arts, as you know, but this continued on the side, and ultimately, I got a job this way as well. So the first job that I got, I didn't have to apply. I was actually headhunted because of the things that I did. And yeah, worked there for 2 years. McKinsey, 4 years. Yeah. Sorry, I think I've went on for too long.
I
Yeah.
wanted you to go on because I was like getting these so many interesting nuggets that I didn't know about you. So this is
Mhm.
super awesome. I'd like to take a step back and you spoke about your engineering journey, right? Like, thank you
Yep.
for being so candid about your experience because this is something I know a lot of engineering students go through every like year when they have to like select their stream, select their institution. Like, I wanted to ask you because like you've leveraged online courses and you've followed your passion outside, but you still talk about how going to an engineering program that was not necessarily aligned with your passion was not the right choice and going to the institute, right? Could you
Right.
unpack that a little bit more and tell us about like even in today's day and age where there are other things that you can do outside, um, how did that decision have an impact, and what would you suggest for other students who are in that same boat? Because today, even today, right, like it is a lot of times a decision that you have to take for anyone who's pursuing their engineering degree. So, if someone is in the same shoe, trying to get into the first year of engineering and having to make that decision between choosing the institute they want to get into or choosing the program they want to take, how does one navigate that decision? And what has your experience taught you?
Yeah. Yeah. So in hindsight, I'd always say that, try to optimize for the subject that you want to learn, or at least get a subject where you can maintain a decent, CGPA, you can maintain a decent academic record. So India, we're unfortunate in that, we have a lot of extremely qualified, extremely smart students, and maybe not as many colleges that are of that caliber. So it leads to most students making compromises on what they want to do. um Hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done Roorkee electronics. I would have probably gone to a very slightly lower ranked college, uh maybe an NIT, maybe VIT. I was getting CS at VIT. I'd probably gone there, maintain like a 9.5 GPA, hopefully. And then avenues to pursue a master's in DS, a PhD in computer science. All of this tend to open up, tend to at least remain. So I think that is very important that these avenues remain open. I mean, if you want to do them or not is a different question, but the fact that you can do them is very important. So that is what I'd say. So first, obviously, try to optimize for your subject more than your university. So let's say you're getting IIT metallurgy versus NIT CS. 10 years ago, I'd probably do IIT metallurgy because obviously there's this entire thing about IIT and it's prestigious and whatnot. But honestly, in the long run, doesn't matter too much. I'd probably do the NIT CS. uh, let's say in case I'm not able to get even that, I'm not able to get, let's say, a tier 1 or a tier 2 college, then CS in a tier 1 or tier 2 college, then I'd probably optimize for getting into a branch where I can at least maintain my GPA, right? So I wouldn't be as rebellious, is what I'm trying to say. I'd try to keep it at around 8.5. So I mean, I've been extremely rebellious and I've had to pay for it. Honestly, not something that I would recommend, right? So that is number one. Um, Sorry, what was the other part of the question? Sorry.
Definitely summarized it very well because I think the takeaway would be because a lot of times you do hear that GPAs don't matter, like, for focus, because you are someone who has done a lot of those side things that people ask you to do, when you're pursuing a
Mhm.
career in data science. And on top of that, your suggestion is still to at least maintain a decent enough GPA. I think that will
Yes,
be an important point to keep in mind for um, everyone who's like, in a similar boat. So I think that
of
answers the
course.
question very well. I think the next question that I have in mind is, um, so you found your passion during engineering and like you've always been like, following that, but you did make the switch or at least like the exploration into liberal arts for that 1 year at Young India Fellowship. What
Right.
made you take that decision? And also share a little bit about YF, like what YF is all about. And I think you and I are familiar about it. So talk about or tell us about what made you take that decision and how that journey was like, and how did it then help shape your approach towards data science after that journey.
Of course, of course. So, I mean, obviously, I was at a university where, the branch was forced upon me, and I was studying these courses which I had absolutely no interest in. So, as an escape, what I used to do obviously was, study computer science, but I also used to take up these courses on philosophy, cinema, psychology from Coursera, edX, places like that, and I really, really loved it. And I felt like uh, my education was incomplete because obviously I wasn't studying what I wanted to, but I also wasn't getting a chance to explore subjects that I could genuinely find interesting. Maybe what if behavioral economics was what I actually wanted to do, in the really, really long run. So the ability to explore a diversity of fields, in a very short, concentrated period was what motivated me to pursue the Young India Fellowship. And I'm super glad that I did, right? Because I mean, I've met some incredible people yourself, included from uh, literally all walks of life. I mean, we've had writers over there, public policy activists, researchers, engineers, lawyers, doctors. I don't think there was any walk of life that I don't know people from, which I think is extraordinarily impactful. Because now in India, at least, right? I mean, if I want to basically find someone somewhere in some college in some region, I know that there is always someone from the YF that can help me get there, which I think is extraordinarily powerful. Really enjoy the subjects. I think pedagogy wise, I think Ashoka is easily the best in the country right now. I think the quality of professors that we have over there is simply unmatched. Very, very optimistic about Ashoka becoming like, I think it's the top private university in the country right now, right? I mean, I wouldn't
It
be
is
surprised.
definitely one of the top ones.
One of the
Might
top.
be biased, but
Mhm.
yes,
I I think 20-25 years, Ashoka University probably becomes the best university in the
yeah,
country. Not private, like literally the
yes.
university. I think it's doing a lot of things right. So hopefully a lot
Mhm.
of incredible people come out of Young India Fellowship as well as the undergrad graduate programs, and you and I, we can piggyback on their accomplishments. Hopefully, yeah.
And bring them on
So
the podcast.
of course, and bring them on the podcast. I hope we are bringing in a few people, right? I mean,
Yeah,
again, just our batch has done some incredible things, and we don't really have
for sure,
a shortage of speakers to bring in.
for sure.
Uh, what else? I mean, we did the human library. I That was something that
Yeah.
I'm really proud of. Where
Mhm.
that was my first foray into actual entrepreneurship. To be honest, I mean, social
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. So 3 months
What's
went to
the human
Ashoka.
library for those who don't know?
Oh yes, of course, of course. So, a human library is a platform where you bring in people from various walks of life who have faced some sort of prejudice, or have these incredible stories of grit, determination, dealing with loss, etc. So you bring these people in, you train them to tell their stories, narrate their stories as if they were books. So you divide their life up into chapters, and then you bring in audiences who can come to you and say, hey, tell me what chapters of your lives are, tell us about your childhood. And then you basically have a very honest, candid conversation about the kind of life you've had. So at Human Library, the one that we had at Ashoka, we had people such as, people from the LGBTQ community, a person who had survived an acid attack. We had an activist who was handicapped himself, but was someone, who provided free medicine. We had a former drug addict who runs a rehab. So all these incredible people, we trained them to tell their stories, and then we brought in people from the Ashoka community as well as students around Sonipat, and basically they got to have these conversations. So I think it was very cathartic, at least for me. From what I've heard from the people who attended, it was very cathartic for them as well. So this was something that was done on a budget of like 40,000. Again, uh, really speaks to Ashoka, because I just walked into Ania Bra's office and I was like, I want to do this. And she's like, okay, which was very, very surprising because I tried to do a few things at Roorkee as well, right? But I mean, that's a government institute. There are a lot of, I'm trying to find, a diplomatic word for red tape, but I'm not able to. But, but yeah, uh, there are certain things, procedures that you have to follow, which, delays things by several months. Here, I go in in January, and the library comes to life literally 2.5 months later, which I think was incredible. So yeah, I mean, definitely one of the highlights. Hmm.
So thank you for sharing all of this. I think the next question that comes to mind is now after the fellowship, there are like a whole bunch of opportunities open ahead of you, right? Like you can, it's an opportunity that fellows take to like reflect upon where they want to go in their careers. And you chose to go back to data science. How
Right.
was that process like? How did you approach? You spoke a little bit about how your first internship experience was, how you went about approaching that job and like how you reached out to the founder. How was it like after the fellowship when you had to navigate your career after?
Right. So I'd say my data science career continued, at least in the form of an interest, right? I wouldn't call it a career, but it continued throughout the YF. So when I reached YF in June 2018, that was when my book was published. And obviously I was busy marketing my book, for the next, let's say, 6 months. So my book gets published, and after that, I am approached by DataCamp, which is one of the largest platforms for data science education, AI education, and they asked me to create a course on natural language processing. So this is before the days of transformers and Gen AI and all of that. So 6 months, January to June, again, I create a course on natural language processing, and it is live on the DataCamp website right now. So it's been live for about 6 years. It's part of a few learning tracks, and I think we have about 25,000 students now. So data science was something that I continued to do throughout YF. Uh, I recruited for a few consulting gigs at YF. I did end up getting a job, but obviously the fractal gig sounded more interesting because it was actually data science. So that is what I ended up doing. So again, long story short, did a lot of things in YF, but I was pretty uh, comfortable going back to data science. It was not something that I wanted to radically change about myself. So that's where I.
Awesome. Now, the publication that you spoke about, would love
Mhm.
to like learn about how that process was like, coming up with the idea to execution.
Right.
I'm sure there are lots of learners in the community who would also like love to like, go down that
Mhm.
path of having their own publication. So
Of
tell us
course.
more about that.
So again, publishing that book was not something that I ever dreamed of doing, to be honest. So again, it goes back to Baran's philosophy, right? Learning by teaching. So what happened was during Springboard, I was supposed to do a final project, and what I wanted to do my project on was movies. So I wanted to basically create recommendation systems that can, recommend movies to you, and also basically narrate the entire history of cinema through data. So what I do is I create a data set, because the data sets that were available online, you either had a lot of, very heavy metadata. When I say metadata, it means things like title, revenue, release date, language, cast, etc., etc. And then you had other data sets which were basically movie title and what a particular user rated it. So you had a lot of ratings, you had a lot of metadata. What I did was I bought them together, and then I used both those information to, basically create these hybrid recommendation systems. Uh, Put this on Kaggle, uh, it goes viral. My movies data set in 2018, I think, was like one of the top 10 most popular data sets in the world. It has close to a quarter million downloads, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I haven't updated that data set for 8 years, by the way. It's still very, very popular. So publish that data set, it goes viral. Obviously, whatever work I did at building the recommendation systems, that also goes viral, because they're intricately linked together. And that is when Packet reaches out to me and asks me, if I'd like to author a book on recommendation systems. So I was pretty skeptical about it, to be honest. This was back in December 2017, and I'm still a college student. I'm still, what, 21 years old. I'm like, am I really going to write a book for one of the largest technical publications in the world? But spoke to a few friends, spoke to Baran. They were all very supportive. And yeah, I mean, over the next 7, 8 months, uh, end up writing this book. Most of the content, obviously, is has been carried over from, what I've already created, and yeah, was released, I think, Q3 2018. So long story short, not something that I wanted to do. It's just something that, came onto me, which is what I tell a lot of our TSP students, right? Which is, just create content out there, create quality content, uh, try to reach out your audience and try to actually help your audience, and gigs will come your way. You don't have to actively look for gigs. I genuinely believe that. Not just the book, right? Even the courses I was telling you. So the course also came on the back of the book and a few tutorials that had gone popular on DataCamp. So none of the big things, quote unquote, that I've done were things that I actively pursued. It was just something that just happened.
That's so incredible. It really goes to show one, what a great mentor can do to one's
Absolutely.
journey. And
Mhm.
I really hope like TSP can like make that happen for like so many more students. And
Mhm.
also the value of like doing the things that may not seem like, really like writing a LinkedIn post today. It may not seem like, I'm moving the needle by a lot, but in the
Right.
long run, it adds up. So I think
Absolutely.
it's a very powerful thing to like keep in mind. And I think the next question would be more about like your professional career right now. Like, tell us about how life is like as a data science consultant.
Right. So I've been a data science consultant all my career since 2019. It's 2025. I think it's been close to 6 years now, right? I would say it's extremely interesting. Fantastic career, because you get to, I mean, depending on the firm, right? But you get to work with a lot of diverse clients across diverse industries. You're working on these cutting edge problems. You're working on problems. Uh, I mean, I work at McKinsey, so we work with, obviously, extremely large clients, and there's obviously a lot of opportunity to make tens of millions of dollars worth of impact. So it's always nice to uh, see that happening live, as you see your clients' eyes light up when they realize that a model that we've built can save so many lives, or save so much money, etc., etc. So It's a fantastic gig. It's something that I definitely recommend a lot of early data scientists to pursue. It's a sort of a great gig to do as an early career kind of a thing. Um, I mean, if you work at a place like I do, you get to choose. There's a lot of agency with respect to the kind of projects that you want to work on. So I've done traditional machine learning. 21, 22, I was doing a lot of blockchain work. In fact, I built some of the foundational blockchain assets, in Southeast Asia and places like that. So that was pretty fun to do. Obviously have been in Gen AI for close to 2 years now. Have been almost exclusively working on generative AI. So again, I mean, I wasn't an expert in generative AI in 2023, right? But if you work at the right places, I guess, there is that agency to learn. There is always a network of experts you can tap into, and there is always the opportunity to, apply your learnings either at a client or at a product or an asset that is being built internally. So I feel cumulatively all of these things make for an excellent learning environment, especially if you're someone who is relatively new to industrial data science and artificial intelligence. Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, as generative AI is like, the hottest topic right now, I think I'd love to know your perspective about what is that emerging trend or tech stack or tool that you're most excited about within the space.
Right. I mean, generative AI, obviously very exciting. Every industry, I think I don't even need to use the word almost. Every industry is trying to figure out, how generative AI can improve their processes, how it can, uh, I don't like to say this, but yeah, how it can cut down jobs, how it can increase revenue, etc., etc. So I would say it's still in the experimental phase right now. I mean, we have seen some sort of impact in certain industries, but I personally, at least, am yet to see that, blowout impact where I'm like, wow, this is going to change this industry forever. I think we're still in that experimental phase, where we're building a lot of things, we're trying to shoot a lot of darts, we're just trying to see, what sticks. um Obviously there is a lot of noise these days around agentic AI. That is something that, a lot of our clients also, right? I mean, a lot of our clients come and ask us about. I also have a lot of friends who are starting up their own consultancies or who are trying to, basically uh, get into this gold rush of agentic AIs. And I have a feeling a lot of people overestimate what these agents can do. Again, I have a very bearish view of it because I've seen it so much, but I have a slightly bearish view of it. Sure, maybe 6 months, a year down the line, these agents can do fantastic things that can completely change the way you do business or the way you interact with customers. But at the moment, I feel like it's a promising technology, but what has been promised is probably, it's there is a little mismatch between, what exists and what has been promised, at least in a lot of these industries. So but that said, definitely a technology that, if you're a technologist, if you're a programmer, if you're a data scientist, I think it's almost mandatory that, you explore this on your own. You try to see, what these agents are capable of doing, maybe build a few things yourself. I think that is something that we try to do through the modules also, right? I remember that we have like 2 or 3 modules where all you do is use these agents to basically come up with ways to, simplify things that you do in your life, like for example planning trips or doing budgets or writing code, things like that. So um Definitely study up on agentic AI. Obviously, it's making a lot of strides in a lot of places, like code generation. Again, I I'm not I do, personally, I do not feel like it's going to replace software engineers completely, but yeah, sure, a snippet here and there is something that is very useful in, and that is what I use it for exactly. So yep, I mean, definitely explore it on your time is what I'd say.
That's awesome. And in like here in the Bay Area, this is something that I always hear about. Like every entrepreneur today, or most entrepreneurs today, have like a startup idea in agentic AI, or companies are trying to implement agentic AI. And I heard you also mention that. So I would love to know what are some of the challenges that companies today face with agentic AI in terms of implementing it within their workflow?
Right. So I mean, first off, there is a huge mismatch in expectations between what agentic AI can do today versus what companies expect, right? Because I mean, I've had talks with a lot of, let's say, company leadership, and as I said, I have friends, who do these startups who also have their own clients coming in, and for a lot of these people, they feel like agentic AI is literally a person with 140 IQ who can just work on their own without any kind of supervision. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that is how we are there yet. We probably will be there, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. Right now, we are not there yet. So there tends to be this mismatch in expectations between what clients think are possible, between what leadership, let's say non-technical leadership, thinks is possible versus what actually is possible. So I've seen that. Number two, I'd say companies tend to invest a lot of money in agentic AI, thinking that it will improve their processes by 50%, it will eliminate an entire division, it will increase their revenue multifold, etc., etc. But the impact numbers don't tend to match their expectations. Again, a different kind of mismatch of expectations. Here you actually end up building something, but it doesn't really match what you thought would happen. And this has happened with a few of my friends as well, right? I mean, I've consulted my friends who are building these wrappers themselves, these agents themselves, to basically see if they want to start up. And then you end up building these systems and you see that maybe not as big an impact as you thought there would be. So to summarize, there's a little bit of mismatch of expectations. When people think of agentic AI, they think of this silver bullet where I can replace a whole human being, a whole, let's say, 120, 130 IQ human being with specialized knowledge with this agent for a few dollars a month. And obviously people start salivating at that prospect, but not there yet. Again, personal opinion. Maybe I may be wrong.
Very interesting. So we've also been talking about like jobs being, especially the software engineering jobs. I think this has been a topic of conversation, and everybody has been trying to like make predictions about like, how will this field change in like the next few years. And I also imagine this might be a very uncertain time for, let's say, someone taking up computer science engineering.
Mhm.
If you were back in time and if you were just starting your engineering degree, would you do
Mhm.
anything differently considering like the changing Gen AI space and like all the how would you do thing or would you do anything differently if you were to go back in time?
Definitely not do electronics. That is for sure. But I would do computer science. I think that is something I'd still do, and I think it's a very exciting time to be a computer scientist, right? A computer scientist, a data scientist, because I mean, all these technologies that are coming into the foray, it's at the end of the day, it is data scientists, data engineers, software engineers who are going to build these systems for you, and foundational systems, right? I mean, what we build today is going to decide, how generative AI actually ends up impacting the world. So very prime position to be in. So definitely would still do computer science. I understand the, the kind of, so people might be apprehended right now about computer science. Obviously, the demand for software engineering, I don't think is going to reach, the levels that we had, let's say in 2021, where everyone was being handed, 50 lakh per annum jobs or $300,000 jobs. I don't think that is going to happen. I also think that the software engineers that are going to succeed in the future are going to be those that integrate these generative AI tools into their stack. So, software engineers who know how to use Gen AI will be more successful than software engineers who don't. So that's my second belief. Third is, I I know a lot of people, a lot of people much smarter, much successful than I am, have come on podcasts, come on LinkedIn and said that, these are going to replace mid-level engineers and all of that. I am not personally convinced of that yet. I mean, sure, you can probably make your engineers a little more, you can make your engineers a little more, oh god, I'm blanking out on the word. Basically, you can make them a little better, you can make them a little performant, but I don't see them replacing whole ass engineers, at least not at the moment. This is not something that I genuinely see happening, but obviously I'm open to changing my mind, if I see something that really blows my mind. But I've seen a lot of these tools, like for example, Cursor, and then there was this software engineering tool called Devin that had come out where they were like, this is literally a software engineer. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to check again, but I would be very very surprised if Devin or whatever that tool was actually has already replaced, software engineers completely. I mean, sure, you can work in tandem with it with constant supervision, but replacing entire engineers, who have a lot of agency, who have a lot of context, not yet, not yet. Yeah.
I think this is a perfect segue to talk about the Scrappy project. Like, what is your
Mhm.
vision with regard to this particular initiative, and like, what do you hope for the students who choose to sign up, and what are you looking forward to build?
Of course, of course. So, Scrappy Project was just built to emulate, what I had at Springboard, which is the ability to do these courses in an environment where, you have some sort of guidance. Obviously, we do not have the I mean, it's free, right? The Scrappy Project is free. Companies like Springboard charge you, I think it's upwards of $5 or $10,000. So obviously they're going to able to give you 1:1 industry support. We are trying to do something which is free, and obviously we have to compromise on the 1:1 support by making it 1:many, right? Which is what we're trying to do. So the idea is, you have these modules that you can go through. You create these study groups. Obviously, we have our WhatsApp communities and whatnot. So you find people to study with, you go through these modules. Obviously, we are here to help whenever you need it. And yeah, you basically, me basically trying to help people emulate the journey that I had, strictly with respect to Springboard, not the others. Please do not follow the other stupid things that I've done in life. Not recommended, but this part of it, definitely yes. So learn with your friends, get guidance from us whenever possible. Whatever you're learning, put it online, create some sort of, community around yourself, create content around yourself, create a personal brand, and then have amazing things happen to you, right? I mean, you will definitely find people reaching out to you for jobs, for freelancing gigs, to participate together in competitions, for conferences. And these are amazing things that you can do, as a student or an early career professional. So that is basically the goal. Obviously, the other part of the Scrappy project is that, with the advent of Gen AI and AI becoming taking center stage, right? I mean, it's captured the imaginations of people from every walk of life. I mean, it's not just technologists who are talking about AI. So I feel like a lot of these jobs, definitely, you could be a lot better at your job if you knew to do a little bit of data science, a little bit of coding, so that you could be the first mover when it comes to using a certain tool in your job or automating certain aspects of your job. Which is why the second goal or the second objective of Scrappy Project is to basically help people who have never done programming or data science to come in and learn enough that they can actually navigate this area and actually think critically when people say something to them about AI and data science.
That's
Hmm.
awesome. Super excited for this journey. Thank you so
Of
much for
course.
sharing all of these amazing information pieces that are going to definitely stick in all of our minds. And this has been an
Hmm.
incredible conversation. And I hope we do many more podcasts together. Here's to like an incredible journey ahead. Thank you, Ron.
So this is the last, this is the first and last time that I'm the guest, right? I mean, hopefully I'll be the host
Yes,
starting
yes.
next time. Yeah, but this is superb. This is superb. It's really amazing. And as I said, right, let's hope we can get a lot of people,
Mhm,
again, you and I, by virtue
mhm,
of being in the right place at the right time,
mhm.
YF and whatnot, we know a lot of
Yep,
incredible people. We have this incredible guest list, and we're
yep.
hoping to bring them one by one. And hopefully people will
Mhm,
know about the kind of journeys people have had from
yep.
an incredibly diverse set of walks of life.
Mhm,
So I'm not going to
exactly.
spoil a lot for you, but yeah, I'm really excited for that to happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we
All
will
right, perfect.
see everyone again soon. Yeah. Bye.
Perfect, thank
See
you. All right, bye bye.
you.